Hi, this is John Briggs of the Antique Telescope Society. We decided it might be helpful to share a few tips about how to make PowerPoint presentations with audio recordings like a standard slideshow. This year in 2020, we are faced with improvising a virtual meeting for the first time for the annual meeting of the ATS. I happened to learn a little bit about how to make annotated PowerPoints for another presentation of the last month or two. And although my knowledge is very basic and my information is very basic, I thought I would make this a little video to explain a few helpful tips in case it might facilitate it for other folks. Okay, I'm just going to go over some real basic things about how I like to do this. First, I should point out that most computers now, like the laptop I'm using for this to make this presentation, have a screen format that's shaped in a ratio of 16:9. And this has become fairly standard for HDMI, high-resolution projectors and monitors, and most screens on laptops now enjoy this kind of wide field format. Now, it's possible to create your PowerPoint in different presentation formats, and there's a setting that you can do to ensure that your PowerPoint will completely fill the screen on most modern systems. And the way you do that is in PowerPoint, there are a series of tabs at the very top of the main screen. One of them is the Design tab. If you left-click on Page Setup under the Design tab, you can see that there's an opportunity to format the slides for on-screen show, 16:9. Now, if you click on that, all of your PowerPoint slides will change shape into this wide field rectangular format. Also note that the orientation should be on landscape in that similar that same box. And if you do that, you'll be making these wide view presentations instead of the much older style format had a screen ratio that was 4:3, and most folks nowadays are going to want to see it in 16:9. So that's one setting to make. Okay, here we go. So if you make that setting and then copy a photograph into a PowerPoint slide, it will come up on the screen showing in this very wide cinematographic sort of style, which is probably the optimum way to make your presentation nowadays. And I hesitate to admit easily how recently I realized this was an option with my own equipment. I was making PowerPoint presentations using the 4:3 format, and in light of equipment available today, that was actually kind of foolish of me. Now, just because you've set your presentation to the wide format, it doesn't mean that every picture that you have available to paste into your slide will fill the slide completely. This image here was vertically formatted, and I didn't want to distort it and widen it to fill the screen, so I pasted it in as you see it. But one thing I was careful to do was to turn the background of the slide to black because I thought the picture would look best to the audience with the black background instead of something much brighter, creating glare to lower the contrast of the image. To set the format background, you use the right button on your mouse and find the format background function, and then you can press solid fill and then indicate a color like black. I hope that proves clear enough. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to demonstrate opening the various software functions and record them. I can only describe them. But again, in PowerPoint, if you click the right button of a Windows mouse and then select Format Background, solid fill with the color, like black, then you can set it up like this. If I don't do that, the backgrounds on my PowerPoint presentations are typically, they want to come out bright, and I don't want that. Now, I should mention for the record, as I displayed these random images from this recent presentation I made in August, that I happen to be using Windows 7 machine that's running Microsoft PowerPoint version 14, which is already 10 years old. I'm not at all sure it's necessary yet for our ATS presentations to be PowerPoint presentations. There are several software options that will create presentations that are in the PowerPoint format, and I'm not one of the lead meeting organizers, and it will be up to them to define some presentation standard if that's necessary. But what I could do is at least give a few tips on PowerPoints, and so that's what we're trying to do here. And I hope that the instructions I'm giving will be applicable on later PowerPoint versions, as well as working on my relatively old one. Okay, here's the title slide from my recent presentation where I learned a few of these new tricks, new to me anyway. And one thing I wanted to point out is that if you do make your slide backgrounds absolutely black so that your pictures stand out in high contrast, if your text is not some other color than black, the text will not show up on top of the black background. So if you set your slide background to black, don't forget to change the color of your text to something different so that it will stand out as you see it here, not only on top of the photograph, but also visible on top of the black background. Okay, the picture of the radio telescope serves to remind us to think about the audio quality as we add audio to the slides, which I'll describe how to do in a few more steps. But the point I wanted to make is that even if your laptop has a built-in microphone, or whatever computer you're using has some kind of built-in microphone, it's become very desirable to have an external microphone that you can buy easily at a computer store that then plugs into your computer, and you wear the microphone, and it can potentially give you a much better audio quality in your presentation using an external microphone. I am not using one right now as I quickly make this presentation of tips, but for my recent, more formal presentation, I was complimented on the quality of the audio, and I had happened to borrow a microphone from a friend to make the presentation. So you might consider getting an external microphone, complete with a headset even. They've become real common in this era of Zoom sessions and everything. So keep that in mind as an option. Now, my standard style is to present a slideshow and then be physically present there to tell the story as I click through my slides. And of course, nowadays, slides are obsolete, so we have learned to use software like PowerPoint to display the images electronically, like this, of our favorite topics, trucks, telescopes, whatever. In order to present these things virtually, it is necessary sometimes to record the audio on top of the slides once you establish the slideshow. For me, this was much easier to do than, say, making a video with the audio and being an actor through it all. So anyway, what I did is I simply assembled a standard sequence of images like I had learned to do using PowerPoint previously, but more recently then I realized there is a simple function in PowerPoint. Once you have your sequence of slides, images prepared, you can go back through them and one at a time add a conversation associated with each image, as I am doing now. And it turned out that's really quite trivial to do, and it was not too unnerving for me, although I had never done it before. If you goof up your commentary, you can simply record it over again, slide by slide. And I have to do that sometimes, but it's really not that bad. Okay, so let's assume that you have assembled a sequence of images as PowerPoint slides. How do you add the voiceover audio information? It's as simple as this. To record audio, first you select one of your slides, the one you want to talk about. And to do that, you use the slideshow tab in the very highest at the very highest level of controlling PowerPoint. There's the slideshow tab. Click on it, and a manual will appear in which there are the words "Record Slideshow," and again, left click on those words, Record Slideshow. Then a box will appear that offers you the option to start recording from the current slide. And when you look in that box, you'll also see that there are places to check that allow audio and also a laser pointer option if you want to use it. The laser pointer option is simply using your mouse when you click on it, it makes a red dot on the picture as you are talking to the picture, and it will record both the red laser-like dot and your voice as long as you have your mouse button pressed once you've begun recording. So anyway, to really begin speaking over the slide, you simply press within that box, Start Recording. And then the slide will appear large on your display, and then you can know to start talking. You might pause just a couple of seconds before you start, and then if you're like me, you'll probably stumble once or twice. And to end the recording, you press on the X in a little recording box that will be superimposed on your picture. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Just shut myself up with this slide, and then we'll try it again, and I'll go through it again. Okay, to go through that again, once you have your images prepared in the slide sequence, simply select them one at a time by clicking on each one. And then, with a slide selected, you go to the Slideshow tab at the highest level of the PowerPoint software interface. Click on that tab, and then an option will appear with the words Record Slideshow. Click on that. That will then display a box with the words Record from Current Slide. Now be careful, don't record from the beginning, which is another option. If you record from beginning, it will go to the first slide of your sequence. And so you be careful to do them one at a time if you're like me. So you click Record from Current Slide, and you will see that the boxes you probably have checked adjacent to that to allow audio and pointer information to be recorded. And then finally you press Start Recording. Then the picture appears large, then you start talking, and then when you're done talking to display that image, there will be just a little X closure option in a small box somewhere, probably in the upper left of your screen. Click on that X and you are done recording audio for that particular image. Okay, something else I should mention is to explain how to use this function here. I mentioned this will work if you have a checkbox checked in the recording menu. But in order to control the red dot, you use your mouse, but the trick is that before you press the mouse to turn on the red spot, you press the control key first. If you do not have the control key pressed, and while you're recording your voice, you click with your mouse, it will advance to the next slide while you're talking. You may not want to do that. Instead, if you want to get this, simply press the control key before you press the left key on the mouse, and you get effectively a laser pointer. Well, this information has been very basic because my understanding of these tools, I'm afraid, is still very basic. But nowadays, I find it fairly amazing how much we can accomplish, even with very basic understanding of some of these wondrous tools. But in closing, I will simply say to encourage anybody patient enough to sit through this and interested in antique telescopes and Antique Telescope Society to please feel free someday to come visit us in New Mexico, Magdalena, New Mexico, at the Astronomical Lyceum, this old building I have to store all this telescope stuff, and the headquarters of Magdalena Astronomical Society. And in the next slide, I will put contact information for me if in the course of making a presentation you have some PowerPoint questions. In case I can help, by all means, either email or telephone me, and I'll try to talk you through to correct misunderstandings I may have conveyed with this little show. Thanks for your attention, and good luck.